Okay, so in the previous video, we looked at how to complete the square, and it allows us to show a turning point of a graph. So now we're going to be looking at how to sketch a quadratic graph fully. So I've written out a couple of steps that you need to take to be able to sketch this kind of graphs. So first things first, if the quadratic equation is in the terms of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are coefficients, then if it's a positive a, the graph is going to look like a U shape, and if it's a negative a, it's going to look like an upside down U shape. So that's the first thing to identify. Next two things are to find where it crosses the x and y axes. So where it crosses the x-axis, we call it a root because it's when y is equal to 0 or the function is equal to 0. And the way we'd find that is either by factorizing, or we can use a quadratic equation, or complete the square. And then to find the y, where it crosses the y-axis is the y-intercept, so it's when x is 0, and that's fairly simple because this is going to be the c value here. And then lastly, we find a turning point by completing the square, which we looked at in the previous video. So let's try a graph. So let's say I want to sketch the function f of x is x squared minus x minus 20. Right, so first things first, our a value is technically 1, right? Bigger than 0, so it's going to look like a U shape. And I need to know where it crosses the x-axis, i.e. the root. So I equate that equal to 0, and then I can find x. So I can, as I said, I can factorize, or I can use the quadratic equation. I'm going to factorize in this case, so we get x minus 5, x plus 4 is equal to 0. And then find the x solution, so it's 5 and negative 4. So if I were to draw a graph, then I know that it crosses the x-axis at x is 5 and when x is negative 4, like this. Right, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, it's the c value here. So in our case, the c value is negative 20. So it's going to cross when it's negative 20, like this. And it's going to be a U shape. So if I just draw it, then it's going to look something like this. It's a poorly drawn U, but you get the image. It's going to look something like this. So now we found where it crosses the y-axis. Now we need to know where the turning point is. So I need to complete the square. So starting off with x squared minus x minus 20 is 0. I can go x minus divided by 2, so 1 over 2 squared minus 1 over 2 squared minus 20 is equal to 0. So now simplifying it, x minus 1 over 2 squared minus 1 over 4 minus 20 is equal to 0. So x minus 1 over 2 squared, this will be minus 81 over 40 is equal to 0. And now we get our turning point because it will be this value here, but the opposite sign, so 1 over 2, comma, this value here, minus 81 over 4. So the turning point will be minus 1 over 2, and roughly around here. And so now you just have to sketch it, so it goes, it's like a U shape, going through all these points, turning point here, and going up like this. Ideally, you want to sketch it a bit more smoothly, but you get the message, right? Let's try another question. So let's say I have f of x is equal to 4 minus 7x minus 2x squared. So first things first, you should notice that it's the a coefficient is minus 2, which means it's going to be an upside down U shape. But then now we just have to find all the roots again. So in this case, I'm going to actually complete the square first. So if I have minus 2x squared minus 7x plus 4, I'm going to make it equal to 0. For completing the square, we need to take anything, the a coefficient has to be 1, right? So I take minus 2 out. We'll be left with x squared plus 7 over 2x, close bracket, plus 4 outside. I can now complete the square, so I have x plus 7 over 4 squared minus 7 over 4 all squared plus, close bracket, plus 4 is equal to 0. Minus 2, we have x plus 7 over 4 squared minus 49 over 16 plus 4 is 0. Multiply minus 2, x plus 7 over 4 squared. This is plus 49 over 8 plus 4 is 0. So we get minus 2 x plus 7 over 4 squared. What do we have here? Plus 32, so 81 over 8 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is, we complete the square, but now we know that this here is the x position, this is the y position, so the coordinate of the turning point will be negative 7 over 4, comma 81 over 8, like so. Right, that's the turning point. The y-intercept where across the y-axis is just this value here, so 0, 4. Now all we need to do is find the x or the roots where it crosses the x-axis. So because I've completed the square, I can just now rearrange for x, right? So I can say that 2 times x plus 7 over 4 squared is equal to 81 over 8. X plus 7 over 4 squared is equal to 81 over 16. X plus 7 over 4 is equal to plus or minus the root of 81 over 16. And therefore x is equal to minus 7 over 4 plus or minus the root of 81 over 4. So now this is going to tell me my x coordinates of where it crosses the x-axis. And now it's just a matter of sketching it. So we draw the axes here. It crosses the y-axis at comma 4. The turning point is minus 7 over 4 and then 81 over 8, so roughly like here. And then it's going to cross at minus 7 over 4 plus, so this is minus 7 over 4 plus root 81 over 4, and here which would be minus 7 over 4 minus root 81 over 4. And now, as you know, it's an upside down U shape, so it's not just about just joining the dots together, so roughly like just as smooth as possible, like this. Okay. So as you can see, as long as you know all these different points, it's a matter of just like plotting them on your graph and then making sure that the graph is as smooth as possible and making sure it's the right shape. It's like a U shape or an upside down shape.